This is an interesting knife that we have here today. I just want to start off by saying this is not mine, this is a customer knife, but it is one that I really enjoyed sharpening and really enjoyed, kind of having around for a couple of days. This is not an XM-18, this is an XM-24, and it has a gorgeous Will Moon grind. So I've already done a review on the XM-18, so I'm not going to talk about construction that much. I'm going to talk about stuff that's a little bit more specific to the 24. So first off, let's go size. This is a very big knife. Let's compare this to my 4-inch bladed Shirogorov. You can see that it's about almost an inch bigger than that. And how about my newest addition that you haven't seen on camera yet? The Bark River featherweight featherweight Fox River. A new EDC fixed blade. It's about a 3/4 inch blade, and you can see that it is much larger than that one. So it is a very very large blade, but it still is maneuverable and still can be used in EDC tasks with this amazing choil that all the hinders are equipped with. And then you still feel like you have a lot of control over this big blade. So that's really nice. I was really happy with the edge I put on this one. They were huge flats, so I didn't have trouble with it rocking at all. I sharpened it at 15 degrees per side per request, and with an 18-degree microbevel, and it is extremely sharp. Oh my gosh. I did a little test for them. I ran out of phone book paper, but I found a spare sheet. I couldn't find my phone book, but I found a spare sheet, and I just touched the edge of the knife on the paper, and then just let the knife fall, kind of like I was pinching it, and I let the weight of the knife bring it down, and it just push cutted right through that paper. So I was really happy with those results, and I think the owner of this knife was too. Let's look at this side. There's one thing I have to say about the Will Moon grind. He got it really thin, but it's not super consistent. Sorry guys, had to interrupt there. As I was saying, it's super thin, his ground's super thin, but it's not super consistent. So take a look at the base of the edge and look at how wide it is. It's thinner here and here than it is in this portion right here. So you can see it's got a little wave going in the edge. Then it thins even more. So the thinnest part of the knife is about right here. Then it thickens dramatically to that really obtuse tip. And you can see how broad my 15-degree bevel is there. But yeah, that's the only problem I have with the Will Moon grind. I mean, this thing is an amazing slicer, and it's going to slice better than any other XM-24. Maybe even one that has a Will Moon grind. Because, like I said, I sharpened it really nice, and it's really nice and thin behind the edge, very lean. Just show you kind of that view of it. Very nice. It's going to be able to do some hard work. I believe this one was an S35. I think I remember seeing a 20 CV run of XM-24s, but I don't believe this one is that. It may be CTS XHP, or just a very well heat-treated S35, because whenever you sharpen, you can kind of tell on how the material goes and how the burr forms and stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was S35. I would actually expect it. So let's talk about flipping action real quick. Actually, there's one more part of the blade I want to talk about. Going back to Will Moon's work, I mean, he kept everything very symmetrical, because I know this wasn't there before. He added that. and it's very nice and symmetrical. And if my camera will focus, you'll be able to see that, but it doesn't look like it wants to. But it's very well done. You know, you see problems with production knives like 940s and stuff. Maybe even some mid-techs where they're not quite, you know, the grinds aren't quite symmetrical. No such problems here. And my hands are getting a little numb because it is 25 degrees out here in Texas. And, you know, I'm a Texan. I'm not used to this weather. It was 80 degrees just a couple days ago. So, yeah, quite a change. Anyway, let's talk about the flipping action. It's got an amazing detent. No, there's some stuff residue I'm going to have to clean off, by the way. That's not how the scale came. That's just residue from tape, glue and stuff. Anyway, it's got an amazing detent. It's not too hard. And as you can see, I'm flipping it easily with a numb finger. It flips very easily, flips very hard. It doesn't have as light of a detent as my Shirogorov, and it's heavier than my Norseman. It's definitely a heavier detent, but it doesn't hurt my finger in any way, and I can still get the knife out via thumb. Oops. I wouldn't recommend doing it with thumb with this detent though, because if you continue to do it, it may hurt your finger a little bit, but it still flips really well, and I don't feel like it hurts my thumb any flipping it out via thumb stud. Ergonomics, I mean, it's a big knife, it's a hinderer, it's going to feel really good in hand, and it does. Feels great in hand. You can choke back on it and still get a 4-fingered grip. I never find that this flipper bothers me, especially in the XM-24s. It just, you know, it never runs into any of my other fingers, so that's nice. This one has a working finish. I believe that's what this is. Kind of a darker stone wash. I can't say for sure, but I think they kind of bee blasted it and then they stone washed it, which I think that's what you do with most stone washes. Anyway, as you can see, I don't know much about making knives. I just know how knives work and what makes a good one. Anyway, I really like this finish. Originally in pictures and stuff, I didn't think I would. I still think I would prefer the stone wash, but this one is a nice second. I don't think I would complain if I had a hinderer and a working finish. Referencing my other XM-18 video, it's got great construction. You have thumb studs that act as an open stop pin. You have this stop pin that acts as a closing one. You have 3-piece standoffs. You've got a very strong pivot. Centering. Maybe favoring the right side, but I'm sure you could fix that by some tuning. Just very, very well done. Lockup. Kind of early, but not too early. I would be fine with this lockup. There are some lockups like that worry me a little bit, but, you know, what's that, like 20%? I'd be pretty happy with that. Hey, my finger's defrosting. One thing that I do have to say is that I don't care for the jimping on hinderers at all. I think that they're too sharp. That's just me. I feel like the flipper is too sharp. And actually, the jimping here, it was either the flipper or the top side jimping. One of them actually cut me, and I started bleeding from it on my old XM-18. So that's interesting. So I would prefer, or if I got this, I would be flipping it kind of more like a light switch motion, which still, I mean, it still gets the blade out. You can do it harder, of course, and it rockets out. I really would stay away from push buttoning because it puts a little bit more pressure from this jimping on your fingers, and then whenever it breaks free, you're slamming your finger into this jimping. I don't care for that really at all. It kind of hurts, and I know that sounds wimpy, but you know, hey, this is kind of a review / overview, so it's something you got to keep in mind. This is really different than the knife that I used to own. I mean, it's the same model, the XM, but I mean, I used to own a little 3-inch, if you remember, I had a review on, and just the size difference is, it's almost funny thinking about mine, which was about this big, and how it's just a scaled down version. But I would definitely recommend all the XM series knives if you like a harder use folder, kind of like a tactical one. See, the thing about the XM-18 is I don't really care how strong the lock is. It's a frame lock. It's not going to be the strongest lock in the world or even close. But with that choil, if the knife really can't fold on your fingers with that choil there. So, I mean, the knife can unlock, but you still won't get cut, because not only do you have that choil, but if it does happen to, then, I mean, maybe you get poked from this point here, but then that happens. So overall, you can't really get harmed in hurting this knife, or in using this knife properly. But what I was going to say next is I would definitely, if you were getting an XM-18, I would try to get one with a harder detent. Not super hard, because I know there are some that you can't get open with your thumb. And this one is, honestly, it's close to that, but you still can. But if you prefer to flip, then try to get one with a harder detent, because this thing flips really good. So just keep that in mind if you're purchasing one. Another thing that I would recommend from this knife is the Will Moon mod. Yes, it may be inconsistent in some places. Sorry, my camera isn't focusing really well today, guys. Yes, it may not be the most consistent grind, but I mean, hey, it still makes this thing a laser. If you can get over kind of the waviness of the edge, then it's still really nice. Oh, that may have just almost bit me, huh? Anyway, I know that if I got another XM-18, I would try to get a Will Moon mod on it, because let me tell you, this thing is just a laser. This really thick stocked knife is going to perform very well at cutting. And with that micro bevel, it should hold up fine. As long as you're not, like batoning with it and stuff. Then you might see that go away pretty quickly. So yeah, that's kind of my overview on this XM-24 Will Moon knife. Y'all guys have a great day. And just, if you happen to see a Will Moon knife out there, an XM-18, and you wanted an XM-18, I would suggest you jump on that. Alright, so that's the young... Oh, I almost said my old YouTube name. This is JW Knives signing out.